Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. This show is brought to you by Auto Rescue Tools and Isaac Rodell. If you've been looking for a programming laptop, but you're not sure which one to buy or how to set it up, especially if you want to program multiple brands. You know, you've got some domestic vehicles, you've got European vehicles. Can the same software go on the same laptop? What size hard drive do I need? All those questions. Isaac's your guy. He can custom set up programming laptops that are ready to tackle any make or model. I got one of these laptops myself, and I can say that it is outstanding, and it really streamlines the process by having everything you need in one device. So if you're looking for something like that, I highly recommend checking out autorescuetools.com. You'll also find scan tools, diagnostic equipment, key cutting equipment, and much more. Check out the link in the show notes. I highly recommend it. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. Thank you so much for joining me today. On the show, I've got Tomi Oliva joining me as a co-host, and we have Kevin Roth joining us from TechFix and TechFix, which is going to be the main focus of our conversation today. Tommy's been doing some instructing and training through TechFix, which is providing a lot of resources to technicians. I learned a ton in this episode. I didn't know much about what they were doing prior to this, but Kevin's going to explain all of that to us in this episode. So it's really great to meet him and to hear about the stuff. We'll include the links in the show notes in case you're interested in pursuing any of this stuff. But other than that, let's jump into the episode.
Hey.
What's up, gentlemen?
Good afternoon. This horrible snowy day. Jeez, man, I swear I'm in the South today, right? Because the news, the school's closed, like all this news that the world's gonna end, and we got literally like 3 inches of snow. So like, come on, people, really?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds really old of me to say, but I don't remember getting any snow days off when I was a kid. But that's legit. Like the roof of the school had to collapse in before we got a snow day.
The snow was up to my stomach, dude, and I was in one of those stupid little penguin suits. Just waddling around trying to get to school. Falling in the snow face first. Eating. Man. And yeah, and I remember I was talking to Pedro today. I'm like, dude, he's like, man, I don't want to sound old, but I really don't remember school being closed. I said, dude, I remember twice that school got closed for inclement weather. Once it was negative 45 degrees for 3 days straight. The other time was the blizzard of the New Year's Day blizzard of 98, 99. We got 2 feet of snow within like a 36-hour time span. Dude, we had snow up the wazoo, man. I mean, there was so much snow that the city didn't know what to do with it. They were piling in it anywhere, parking lots. It doesn't matter. There was snow until about June on the ground. That's how piled up the snow was that day. Plus the snow from the rest of the year. And they closed school because, I mean, there wasn't enough plows to clean the roads.
Yeah. There was always ice for us. That would be the thing that would shut it down, is once it was too icy for the buses to drive, and then we'd get a day off. But the snow is just, get out there, figure it out. It's Minnesota, deal with it.
Yep. Okay. How's the weather by you, Kevin?
Honestly, man, so right now it's snowing pretty hard, but they're calling for 1 to 2 tonight, but then it's going to ice on top. So schools will be closer tomorrow, but today was pretty good. Yeah, just was your normal average gray day in Pennsylvania.
Nice. So for those who don't know, Mr. Kevin Roth here, he is a very important person in the world of ShopFix Academy. He's also a manager at TechFix, which is the company I teach for. And what's the name of your shop, Kevin?
Kevin's Auto Repair Service.
Didn't they tell you not to name your shop after yourself?
They did, and I didn't listen.
Hey, where's Kevin?
It,
He dead.
it's ST Mobile. I did the same thing. So
I have
Yeah, but
people coming in saying, "Hey, where's Kevin? We went to school together." And I look out and I'll just peek out and I'll be like,
like
"Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't go
know
to
that
school.
person." Yeah. So yep, I had somebody tell me that they went to college with me. I never stepped foot in a college.
School, school of hard knocks.
Yeah. Oof.
So today's conversation with Mr. Kevin Roth here is I just wanted to share my experiences and also get the other side of the coin with the ongoing what's the good word? The ongoing uh kind of interpretation of ShopFix Academy in the industry. ShopFix Academy is for those who you don't know, is a shop coaching company, which their main objective is to make the shop more profitable. It's been a very interesting topic because a lot of people hate them and a lot of people love them, and there's never been an in between. Uh, so today I'm here to talk to Kevin just to get some insight about what his experience was, how he started, and where he got to, and what's the future for ShopFix and TechFix. So I'll let you start, Kevin.
Cool. So I bought my shop in 2014. 2014, I was working with, well, actually 2013, I was working with a gentleman that I worked for a couple of years, and I just told him, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to go do my own thing. I said, appreciate everything you've taught me. He was a great mentor. He was winding down, and I was trying to step it up. And he basically said, he's like, hey, hang out there till the end of the year with me and I'll sell it to you at a fraction of the costs, right? So I bought my shop and I thought, like, everybody told me I can't find a good job. I don't get paid enough. So I thought I was going to hang a help wanted sign in the front window and every technician was just going to come running and I'd be set, right? Well, that didn't happen. Instead, ended up spending, it was just myself and my wife at the time, from 14 to about 17. I think in 16, I hired a couple of technicians who weren't really more than just able bodies. And then, for those couple of years, I worked 22-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, missed everything from my kids growing up. I missed all their, I went to most of their school performances and stuff, but I missed a lot of family and home stuff, missed all the birthday parties with family and stuff like that. So it's just killing me. In the end of 2017, I had met Aaron, the owner of ShopFix, and I met him I met him online actually. I was already in talks with another coaching company that was trying to sign me up, and this guy he was just telling me all the things that my shop could be, and everything else. The only downside was it was like a $90,000 fee up front. You had to pay for 5 years of coaching up front. I didn't have the money, so it was going to be where they signed you up for a mortgage and you had to sign a personal guarantee on this, and then you're in debt for this thing for 5 years. And I was like, well, what happens if you can't help me? He's like, well, that's a risk you're going to have to take. And he kept saying that's the big boy risk.
yikes.
But the more I looked, the more it was common, right? A lot of people had big contracts to sign. I'm sitting on the couch one night, and this is January of 18 now. We got through Christmas. I wasn't going to sign nothing before then. January of 18, this guy's calling me. I'm going to sign the last page, which is going to put my house up as a lien. I'm going to sign all this because I knew what I was doing wasn't working. And my wife leans over. She was on Instagram on her iPad. She said, what's this? And it was one of Aaron's videos on controlling chaos in the shop. And it was selling, like, basically, this was like right as ShopFix started. And it was talking about the program and everything else. So click the link, and it was early on in the program. I bought just that first video series. And immediately I get a message from Aaron on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, this is just one of those pop-up ads. No, it was him. He saw that I bought. It was just crazy. He's just talking me through, asking me like a billion questions about my shop, and I'm going through. I watched all 5 or 6 videos there were in that series that night, and I was just like, wow, this guy, like, I mean, it just felt like everything I wanted. And then I read into the program, and it's, there's no contracts, nothing else. So I was like, well, I called up the other coaching company, and I just said, hey, listen, I'm going to go to this event in April that they were having. It was their first Shop Hackers event. I said, I'm going to go to this event, and I'm going to take a look at this company. They have no contracts. I just really can't sign a $90,000 note right now, put myself in jeopardy. I don't even know if this is going to work. I mean, at this point here, we were doing $25,000 a month. I was just paying the bills, putting a very little bit in the bank. So after I told that guy that, I expected him to say, "Well, call me after. We'll talk." He told me, he goes, "Well, then rip up your contract and call me when you're completely failing, and we'll see if we could help you then." He goes, "Maybe then you'll be desperate enough." I was like,
Jeez.
Wow.
"Yeah." I was so, for lack of better terms, pissed off that I tossed the contract, and I held it out that couple months. I talked to Aaron a couple times back and forth on Facebook. I went to that conference and I signed up, but like that conference, that January, February, March were so bad. The technicians I had weren't technicians. They were, like I said, they were able bodies. They were breaking everything. I ended up doing 95% of the work. They were only cleaning the shop or moving stuff, helped me push cars in. It was a mess. Got with shop fixed. When I left, I remember going to get on the plane. I told my wife, I was like, listen, and again, so this would have been April of 18. I said, I'm going to go to this thing. If this doesn't work, I'll come back. We'll light it on fire. We'll collect the insurance money. We'll go on vacation for a couple. It's worth it. I wasn't going to keep going the way I was going. And she laughed it off with me, but I was like, I'm serious. Like, if this doesn't seem like something that's going to help us, I'm done. I'll call it quits. I'll go get a job. We'll be done. Because at that point there, I could have made more money working for somebody than I was making on my own. So I went to that first Shop Hackers event, man, and I just talked to a bunch of people who've seen the results and had the same problems I had. So I signed up, I gave it a shot, and there wasn't a ton to lose because it was month to month. If I didn't like it, I'd quit. I spoke with Aaron. I told him a couple of the issues I was having, and like from there, the rest was history. I got set up with my coach, just started controlling like the day to day rather than I was going in every day. I was just being a firefighter. I'd walk in, whatever was the most important thing is what I would hit, and I would just put fires out all day long. This customer's mad, I'd help them. That customer was ticked off, I'd go fix that. Whatever car was the biggest problem at the time, I'd go work on that one for a little bit. I'd talk to the next irritated customer, whatever it was. I was just a glorified firefighter. So after that, I mean, we got really just got some systems and processes. I was a good tech, I just wasn't a good owner. Had no business experience. I knew enough to make a side job work on the side, but not run a business, productively and efficiently. So, but throughout the years, I mean, I took my shop. So in 2018, April, I joined. To be honest with you, May, June, July, I was kind of a pain in the ass for my coach. Me and Guy were working together, and he just basically called me out. He's like, if you're not going to do the things I'm going to ask of you, just quit because you're wasting your money. And that was the way he put it to me. And like, as Tommy knows, him and I talk, I just need to be talked to blunt. I don't like when people sugarcoat things. I just want to know exactly, like, just tell me the way it is. You don't have to sugarcoat anything. And that's what he did. And from that point on, it was like, all right, what do you need me to do? Let's go. Started implementing some of the systems, started working around. At that point there, I was $60 an hour for my labor rate. So this would have been 2018. We bumped our labor rate to, a respectable $90 at the time. And that was big for us. I thought, I did that. I thought the world was going to end. I was like, it's nerve wracking. And you're just afraid of losing what you have. So after that, so 3 months in, didn't really do much, was just kind of dabbling back and forth, made some improvements, but nothing great. Then I put in the work. I just really started listening. I was like, what's next? What's next? And started knocking out implementing systems and procedures, like the way we structure our day, having a team meeting every day, going through and, just making sure my team understood. I had to upgrade those technicians, obviously, because I was actually killing them. I couldn't give them the training they needed because I was busy all the time. They were terrible and they went home defeated every day. Just they didn't have the mentorship they needed. So we finally got a couple good techs in there. By the end of that, we were doing maybe $25,000, $30,000 a month when I joined. By November that year, we had our first $100,000 month. And this was out of it was really a 5-bay location because it was so tight. It was only 2,900 square feet. It was 5 bays, and I only had 25 parking spaces total, and that included me and all the employees. So we had to park 2 blocks down around the corner, and it was just crazy. I have a picture, I'll share it with you guys, and you can do what you want with it, but I have a picture of like tow trucks lined up down the street bringing cars, and we just couldn't put them anywhere. We were dropping them off in a parking lot around the corner, having to tow them up with a truck. It was just crazy. So, and after a couple years through the program, we stayed in that building until 2020. In February of 20, I bought a 13,000 square foot building. It's the current building we're in now. And then, as you guys all know, March, the country shut down. So I'm thinking like, this was the perfect timing for this. Right? But we stayed in that building with she's now my manager, but she was my service writer. With her, Me and four other technicians, we did $172,000 out of that store, and we're in a pretty low median income, so we're sitting right around $22,000 to $28,000, and we did 172 at 48%. And a lot of people would scoff and say 48% isn't a great profit margin, but I mean, we were able to put away 37% of that as net, just being able to work efficiently, fast, and I mean, realistically, that's where we got our start, and that's how we took care of customers. I didn't have any extra space, so I couldn't put a single tool in there that we didn't need. And we just learned how to work really lean and really hustle to get everything done and give customers quality, so we weren't giving them garbage.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, man.
Fast forward to today, like right now, our revenue is sitting. Our best month ever was $299,000. So I still have yet to break the 300 mark. We have 8 technicians. I have my manager still there, same one. My shop foreman still there, the same one from the other shop. We still have a couple of our key players, like our technicians, my lead technician and stuff. And then we've upgraded staff. We have a GS. I have my son there. He's a C Tech. So 8 technicians, 2 advisors, and my manager there. And like I said, we're doing just shy of 300,000. We were on track last year to just break it, and we just had a couple bumps in the road with parts, and I think we'll get it this year.
Awesome, man. Congrats. That's a beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It beats the alternative, right?
Right.
Too much.
Wrenching for somebody else.
That's a pretty quick turnaround, I think, too. I mean, that was in the span of a year you were talking, right? That you went from
25, we hit 100. So that was in April, March, April, May, June is about when I really got serious. Like 3 months into the program. So from June to November, we went to 100 grand. And now it wasn't without its struggles, right? Like, because every time you grow, you spend a ton of money to grow, and it just breaks every system you have. So
Yep.
It struggles,
More money, more work, more problems. Yeah.
Yep. And then I don't care how good of how good technicians you have. When you have a parking lot that has 60 cars on it that could hold 25 people back into each other, they bump things, and you run into problems you didn't realize you had.
Yeah. And so that growth, though, how much of that do you credit to being part of that coaching system? I mean, do you think you would have gotten there eventually by yourself, or is it somebody else helping you out with that path that really got you there?
So the best way I could explain it was having somebody else to just call me out of my BS, right? Because like I wanted to touch every car, I wanted to touch every ticket, I wanted to talk to every customer, and that's how I built it from the $0 a month to 25 grand a month, and I wanted to do it all. It was just somebody else who like repetitively would say you can't do it all, and then on top of it, I had hired a couple service writers that really were not good. They were just people that I thought had a good personality or whatever, and they just sucked at their job. And just having somebody on top of it's like, listen, you can keep hiring people, but you're going to train them to suck like you do, right? You're not an advisor. You're a technician. Technicians are technicians for a reason. Advisors are advisors for a reason. If you keep trying to train advisors, you're going to train them to suck just like you do. And that's exactly what you're going to get. And I mean, again, you would think that's common knowledge, right? But it's not. And I see it over and over again now with all my members, and we just keep watching. But until you call somebody out on that, they don't put the connection together. Because like when you're in it every day and you're in the weeds, you don't really get to see that 40,000 foot view of what's going on. Like you're stuck in the weeds that are 6 feet tall. You can't see you're getting ready to walk off a cliff. You just need somebody else to kind of help you and hold your hand. I just needed somebody for accountability.
I feel attacked.
I feel like I got beat with a bat. No, that's a great story, man. So much as yourself, like when I was at the TechFix fall conference and speaking to all the members or the fellow instructors who are members, and they all had a very similar story, and some, with all due respect, feel like they were worse off than I am, or I was at the time, right? So I'm like, man, like what gives? Why do you think that ShopFix has such a bad reputation with some people, or in some eyes? they're just not I mean, because one thing is not a fan of something, right? Like I can tell you, you know what, man, I don't like Burger King, but I don't sit there and go on social media and just like say F Burger King. I hope they burn down and they close up. Like I don't understand it.
So, I mean, I guess there's going to be, a few things that I could attribute that to. Number one is like, so I think there's a passion that's driven there. Like when you listen to the other coaches inside of ShopFix, when you listen to Aaron speak, we talk with a bunch of passion. I think a lot of people mistake that for ego. And I think that's dropped. I think you've seen yourself, right? Like, so, um, I mean, and again, this is my personal take on it. Some people will disagree, but I think that a lot of people mistake passion for ego or passion for arrogance, and it has nothing to do with that. I love watching people grow. Like I love watching the changes that you're making and actually seeing it implement and happen, right? So I think that's part of the coolest thing. But I think some people think of that, and other people run different business models, right? I have a couple clients who run different business models. Like your average American Asian shop, and again, it depends on the demographics, depends on where you're at, depends on the size of your shop, is typically running a $500 to a $600 ARO. And if they're really struggling, they're doing what, 250 to 350 in that
Mm-hmm.
area? Well, I have some people that have said, well, the answer is not to run more cars through the shop, but the answer is to get your ARO up, or, you guys have heard the whole thing, raise your rates and all the other, political stuff that gets ran around. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I am saying is that it's not for everybody. And I think blanket advice is terrible because what works for you in Chicago might not work for somebody else. And I think until you start analyzing everybody's situation, you look at their demographics, their media, you also have to look at these people's teams, right? Because I could be giving you advice based off what I would do with my team, but if your team can't handle that kind of capacity, throughput, or even just those type of jobs, right? Like one of my biggest feats is like there are certain shops that only have like a mid B level technician, and they're taking on CAN bus diagnostics, and they're calling going, I don't understand why they can't diagnose this. I'm like, because they have no place diagnosing this. They're just not there, and you didn't give them the training, so this is on you. Like you have to know. I mean, and I don't mean to say it this way, but it's almost like stay in your lane, right? Because what ends up happening is they start to branch out, and they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. I think it gets a bad rap, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, but like they get called out for cheap oil changes and some of the marketing tactics. But I thoroughly believe car count's king. When COVID hit, I know 3 or 4 shops in the same road that I am went out of business, and we did well, but our car count went from 550 cars a month down to about 250 cars a month. Now, my worry is you get somebody who was given the advice to raise your rates, know your customer, or fire any customer that's a bad customer, and then you run your ARO up to 1,500, 1,600 bucks, which again, if that model
This
works for you,
episode is brought to you by L1 Automotive Training and Keith Perkins. If you're looking for education on module programming, J2534, EEPROM work, key and immobilizer, electrical diagnostics, or drivability diagnostics, Keith has a website, l1training.com, that's got over 60 hours of training videos on all those subjects and more. When I first started out doing mobile, I utilized Keith's videos on module programming in J2534 in order to get my head wrapped around what I would need for the tooling, the computers, the software setups, what kind of obstacles I would be up against when I'm out there programming modules on cars. And it was a huge benefit to me. And I continue to use the training videos that he has on his website. So I strongly recommend checking out l1training.com. The link is in the show notes.
which again, if that model works for you, I'm thrilled, I'm happy. Just so you're paying your bills and you're happy, I'm cool. My issue runs it is you run that model and COVID hits or something else shuts the country down. What happens to your 200 cars when it drops down to 75 cars? You don't have enough to pay the bills, or your team, you're laying people off. So for me, it's always been a car count as king model. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I don't think there's a one size fits all. And I think that's what gets misconstrued. We're not telling anybody they have to do anything they don't want to do. But I mean, the model we put in place, clearly has grown quite a few shops and quite a few mega shops as well.
Definitely.
So,
I mean,
again, I'm not bashing anything else. There are some other coaching companies out there that have done fantastic, and there's a place for everybody, right? Like there's even been a few clients that have come in and we've suggested that we can't help them or they weren't ready. And, I mean, honestly, the passion from the top down, like I've gotten a phone call like, this guy is not making enough to afford this. Please don't let him stay in that place too long. Like, I just had my first coaching call with a member. They're really struggling. They had to put their first payment on 2 credit cards to make it happen, right? Because they wanted to join so badly. And like, again, message from the top down is you need to get him from here to here as fast as possible. We're not taking this man's money. It needs to happen. And we can't have him uh, leveraging his credit cards on this and not doing the work. So if he's not making progress, we're going to have to cut him from the program. We want to help him, but like, we need to see movement. So that's how we laid out our plan, is like, we need to do this over the next 4 weeks to get you to this level so we can keep growing. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to afford this, and we're going to become a problem on your P&L, not an asset,
Well, see, I one of my first experiences, right? Not so much with, well, I'll start with this one. One of my first experience with ShopFix was actually here mobile. For some reason, my word got around to a ShopFix shop, and then it started spreading. So there's a big population of Hispanic-owned ShopFix shops here in Chicago, and that was my first experience. And again, a lot of them seem to fit a certain like model, right? Like pretty waiting room, alignment machines, like just the way that they all see it. It almost seemed like a franchise. So at first I thought that's what it was, like, a franchise model. But then, as you know, obviously the owners can sometimes be a little ego driven, and they come out and see this fat brown guy fixing a car that their guys couldn't or whatever, and then they start piquing their curiosity. And they'll, then I'll start asking them questions like, "Hey, look, so how you? Oh yeah, we did 100K and blah blah blah." And one of the shops is actually in a worse area than I am. Like, when you hear Chicago and you hear all the bad stuff that happens here, that's where he's at. Like, I'm in the outskirts of that. He is in that heart, and he's killing it. So I'm like, man, what is it? This, I don't know. Then in my head, I'm like, that's probably his location, because he has 6 bays and he has parking, and I have this. And whatever. And then I took I couldn't find a good technical class for a certain hour at Vision, and I ended up going into a management class, not ShopFix, another company, and it pissed me off so bad I walked out. The guy's like, because again, one of the things that I agree with you 100% is I don't like blanket statements either. Again, you can tell me, you can be the best salesman in the world, but if that customer that comes into your shop is broke, you're not gonna get nothing out of broke, man. I mean, it is what it is. And he said, yeah, you can sell $5,000 worth of work to that 85 Chevy pickup or whatever he was calling about it. And then he just keep going on and on and on. I'm just like, whatever, homie, man, I'm out of here. I ended up leaving the class, going to the hotel and drinking. And Sean knows.
That's what you do at Vision.
Yep. And I'm just like, man, and I think for me, that's what kind of did it for me. And then what kind of, nailed the final nail in the coffin for me in terms of like what I thought about not just ShopFix, but coaching in general was, the hate that a lot of people have, especially like shop owners groups, technician groups, they all have this one thing in common, right? It's, oh yeah, if you're not doing things this way, you're a failure, you're a loser, you're the disgrace to the industry, go back to where you came from, like blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And in our previous episode, we talked about the technician aspect of this, right? About how people can actually lose their ass for following people's advice on Facebook, and 95% of it is all bullshit. Like, we all have struggles. We all struggle with different things. Not everything is perfect. There's really no rules to any of this. And I was being taught this earlier, but I just wouldn't listen because I fell for the same. I fell for the same crap. So that being said, I'm like, I don't like any of this. And then we started looking at the diagnostic guys, right? And all the diagnostic. Oh no, like, diagnostic needs to be a lead diagnostic guy needs to make 100K salary, paid training, and all this and all this and all this. And so then I started being in the mindset of like, oh, yeah, I guess they're right. And then you get some of these shop fix shops who are just like, no, we don't want to do this. We just want to do brakes and suspension and blah blah and et cetera, right? The easy stuff. And so then, I think that's where my perception of it came. And of course, you hear different things, and then it just it piles on, right? Because it's human nature, right? You see something you don't like, and then other things you don't like, you're like, oh, they're all the same, and you start generalizing.
Sure.
Fast forward to now, as the last few years, I picked up a mentor of mine. He has a couple shops here locally. He's never had any coaching, but he's a very good business owner. And one thing he taught me was, dude, he's like, if I didn't do he's like, we made our bones on diag. He's like, but I made my first millions doing brakes, oil change, suspension, tires. And I'm just like, you're crazy. He's like, dude. He's like, yeah, you're mobile, and yeah, you're gonna make this money, dude. But guess what? This is how much I made in parts.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's a lot of money. And then it just made me realize, you know what, man? What's wrong with staying, like you said, staying in your lane? If you don't want to do, heavy diagnostics, you want to, like, I don't do transmissions. I don't get chastised for not doing transmissions. I hate them. Like, we'll install one, but I don't want to rebuild them. Does that make me an inadequate technician? I don't weld. I don't do custom exhaust work. Does that make me inadequate? So why? Because I know that I don't have the correct tooling, the expertise. I don't want to do diagnostics. Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, I think like in the technician world, they get crapped on all the time for not doing and taking in diag, you know what I mean? And you see it all over the place in those groups. And again, I think it just becomes like everybody piles on, like you said, right? But in all reality, like my biggest thing is what are you doing to the customers? If you got technicians that can't diagnose, why are you running diagnostic stuff through your shop, right? And then what really kills me, and it's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot, you'll see the mobile guys go in and say, you guys have no place touching this stuff. Like, that's why you have a job, man. They called you in to fix it. So you should be happy that they don't have good techs because you just have repeat work, man. I'd be dropping my card off in donuts every day. Be like, hey, thanks for that repair. Here you go. Card.
That's what we do. It's like, hey, man, you guys want to feed us? Sure.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I've judged the shit out of some of these shops, but I've never said it to them.
That's crazy, man.
Y'all mofos couldn't fix a ham sandwich. What are you doing touching this car, man? Go sell some tacos or something, man.
It's insane. Yeah, in 2019, I had grown. So we did 172 at the 6 Bay. We got up into like the mid twos at the big location, and that's when my coach is like, "Hey, it's time for you to give back. It's time for you to start coaching." So I took on my own clients. That was the November of 19 I started, and then worked up through all the way through COVID. Great time to be a business coach when COVID hits and you're trying to navigate everything that happened with yourself. Yeah. And but I mean, honestly, they were awesome. They coached us through it. They helped us with a lot of things, and we were able to help some of these owners that were just essentially terrified. In 2019, and I've said this at ShopFix a bunch of times, but in 2019, I was you ever hear the phrase "Don't meet your heroes, you just be disappointed," right?
Mm-hmm.
So too many times. I told my coach, I was like, listen, man, I said, this company's changed my life. If I go and I work for Aaron and it isn't what it seems to be, I'm going to be highly disappointed. I was like, because I mean, it was to the point there where I had no time with my kids. I missed them growing up. I had no time with my spouse. Like we were, we worked together. That was it. But that's not a good relationship.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you got no time because I mean, I'm coming home at 3, 4 in the morning, crashing, getting a shower, and going back to work 2 hours later. So I had just said, I had no time, and you guys gave me all that back. If I meet this guy, and I start to see what he's like behind the curtain, and it's not what you guys say it is, and he goes, well, the only way you're gonna know is if you join us. So, and he goes, I'm telling you, he's exactly the same person that he is. And I think that's what, I've had people say that, it's all just a front and it's fake. But I mean, honestly, man, everything I've met or talked to Aaron or found out about him is exactly the person he says he is. So, that was awesome. That was a positive. Fast forward to a couple of years later, I currently have 38 clients in the program that I'm directly responsible for. I still have my shop, and then now we have TechFix where Tomi works. So Lowell, the director of TechFix, he started, ShopFix came to him. So originally it was ShopFix Academy, and then we had SalesFix Academy, so we were helping with sales. And then after that, we knew the next step was got to be technicians, right? Because I mean, everybody says the same thing over and over again. I can't find technicians. So we either got to grow them, we have to train them, or we have to, we have to be able to recruit the good ones, and the good ones want training. So I mean, again, Lowell started to build the program, and it was kind of funny at first because the first couple times I mentioned about like, hey man, if you need some help, let me know. He's just like, yeah, yeah, whatever. I just kept coming around like a little puppy dog until he finally was like, hey, all right. So, and that was, gosh, that was the end of 22 when I joined TechFix, and it started off small, and man, it's been growing like a weed. We pulled in a bunch of different trainers. I mean, what we offer is just, the technical aspects, but on top of the technical aspects of each of the trainings we do, and what I try to get a lot into is a lot of the mindset that goes behind it, right? Because there's a huge negative mindset with a lot of technicians. I mean, technicians work with cars for a reason. We know that. And they're not people for the most part. While they may seem a little introverted, they're very extroverted, but they just don't like working with people. They work with a machine, and when you get to understand how that mindset works and you could help these guys change a little bit and to get rid of some of that negative connotation that you're not just a grease monkey, you're a diagnostician or you're a, advanced level technician, and that's what we want to get you to. I don't want to hire somebody who just aspires to be an oil change guy. So like for us at my shop, I tell my team all the time, and I tell people that I hire, if you're just looking for a job, this is not the place for you. If you want this to be your career, or if this is your calling, we'll take you and you'll have a long-standing, happy home here. But if this is just a job and you're doing it for a short while, it's not going to be for you.
So what does the tech fix thing actually look like? Is this it's online training or is that coaching as well? How is that formed?
A little bit of everything. So the majority of the training is done online. So we have the training broken up into 3 sections. We have our foundations program, and that's where we teach technicians to be a tech. So, I mean, realistically, in tech school, they taught you how to fix the car. They didn't teach you all the things like how not to go into debt on a tool truck, how to organize your toolbox, your tool cart, to know your KPIs, like know your numbers, right? Because you have to be able to assess whether you're doing a good job or not. Or
Mm-hmm.
do you have a bad service advisor? Does the shop have bad systems and processes? It's sad to say, but there are a lot of great techs that could do a hell of a lot better if they worked for a shop that had great processes. I would get a lot of flack too because I mean I've always been a flat rate technician. I worked salary once and I quit in 3 months. Couldn't, busted my butt and I couldn't make any more money. I think that's another reason that we get some flack. But the flat rate program I think is fantastic if as long as you're not doing diag all day. If you truly are just doing 100% diag or on a discovery team, you're gonna starve.
Mm-hmm.
But the flat rate portion for us, I mean, I don't think it's flat rate because a lot of people will say flat rate killed the industry. I think the mismanagement of flat rate killed the industry, right? Because I believe like if it's 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock and I walk out and you have a 3 hour job to do, and I say, Mrs. Smith needs this today, can you please stay and get this done? And my tech knocks out a 3.5 hour job in 2 hours, he should be rewarded for that. He shouldn't be, I don't think he should be penalized for being good at his skill set, buys tools and makes his job faster. He should be rewarded for that stuff. So I think the flat rate program was set to, award technicians. And I know there's a bunch of mismanaged programs, but so we teach all that in the foundation series. Then we have our university where we just teach everybody the basics. We start with brakes, work our way up through steering and suspension, drivetrain. Then we go on to, we have electrical climate control and performance diagnostics. We roll through all of this and we go through the basics. We're not doing any of the real high, we're not going into diagnostics. We're just going into the basic, like foundation building stuff. After that, we have the Becoming a Master series. That's where Tommy's teaching. He's currently doing all of our programming series. And I believe we talked about doing some short finding stuff too and stuff like that. But we have that, and we have a couple of trainers working through there. And that's where we teach you to steal it out of Andrew Fisher's mouth, the diagnostic playbook. Like that's where we teach you guys, like teach everybody how to diagnose a car and how to do the same test, like to be repeatable over and over again. So we're not just shooting in the dark. You know, we have our own certification program, so we certify twice a year. And the way we do that is we build these tests based off of our curriculum and off of the Becoming a Master in the live classes that we teach, a lot of live Zooms. There's a lot of live stuff. So if you're stuck and you're just not sure, you watch the university and you still don't get it, we run these classes. We do lunch and learns and items like that for all of our technicians that they can get on a call with somebody like Tommy and they could ask as many questions as they want. Tommy's been on this, and like a couple times we're going to schedule classes, and he's like, I'm not sure if I can get this done in 3. I'm like, well, if there's questions and it goes to 4, I'd rather it be a 4-part class. I mean, the whole point is it's all about the quality, not just the quantity, right? I don't want him to just run through all of his day, I don't need him to click through slides as fast as he can just to say he did it. I need to make sure that the people that are on the other end of that training are getting quality training. I don't want somebody to brick a module or do something dumb because they weren't, because our trainers weren't fully engaged.
That's it's actually my the part that I enjoy. The part that I enjoy the most about TechFix is, I mean, it's obvious, right? I'm a technician, so I don't care about money. Let's just put, let's just put that first. But I just after STX, I noticed certain things about the training side of the industry, and man, I don't want to play. I don't play by the rules, man. I've had this issue with authority since I was a kid, and I just what I like about TechFix is it's to me it just feels like an open canvas, as long as you come in with the material and the knowledge, um, they receive me with open arms, and it's been a great experience so far, for at least for me, and also it's again, so I have my nephew who's trying to go back, and I was teaching him mechanical stuff when he was a kid, but he wasn't interested, and now he's taking an interest again. He wants to actually go to trade school. And I also have another shop owner who I'm taking in his kid because he's also very sharp kid. Like, so basically I have 2 apprentices that are with me a couple of days out of the week just to get some field experience or whatever. And I paid for a class series, and it was obviously it's a good class, but my caveat with it was just too much information at once. And so it's like the training industry not only needs a revamp like the rest of the industry, right? But we also need a marketing revamp. Like, I think we need to go away from the fact that, if my class doesn't say advanced, it's not gonna get sold. Like, dude, respectfully, man, I correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but if I remember, Lowell said that 80% of the foremans or the technicians that took the survey test,
The certification test.
failed. Is that correct? Or
Yeah,
didn't?
our first time around, we selected a bunch of people to take the test just to get it through and see how people do with it. And there were a lot of what we would have considered at the time to be higher level technicians, and a good majority, it's 70-80% failed. So what we realized really quick, and currently we're over 1,500 technicians in total that we've tested, throughout the certification process, and that's every 6 months we're recertifying them. But so out of these 1,500 or so, they might even be closer to 1,600 in the program. But out of these technicians in the program right now, what we keep seeing is the ones who fail the certification, they message me, they message Lowell or Danny, and they get on the phone with us and they say, I don't like this test. So just always right off the bat, I say, what do you want out of training? And they say, I want more advanced training. And I look, and they failed the basics of brakes, the basics of steering and suspension, and they bombed an electrical class. And I was like, you can't build a house on a crappy foundation. You need to go through the basics, Like, we'll get phone calls and where basic stuff like something like Ohm's law can help you through this. They don't understand it, and they're just dumbfounded, right? And I'm not bashing them. It's just that nobody's put the importance of training. Nobody's told them that you need to learn the basics. I mean, and it's just really frustrating because like these kids have paid to go through a college, and I mean now some of it's their own. They could take the initiative to learn, but at the same time, like we're in this industry as a whole. I'm not looking to beat anybody down. I just want to help build all these technicians up. So
Yeah, it's especially if you've been at it for a while in the industry and you probably do have some skill sets. You you don't want to do the basics because, well, I already did that. I've already been through that. I'm paying, or somebody's paying for me to go to this training. I want to go to the advanced stuff. I want to learn the top level, the highest stuff that I can get. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen the trainers play with that as far as the titling of the courses goes to attract more people into a class just by putting, yeah, advanced something or another in the title, or something like that. Because, yeah, draws people in for sure. But yeah, 100% right. Right. If you don't have the foundational stuff, how are you going to get anywhere else with it? Um,
Guys pulling the scope out. You know what I mean? They're like, the car's broke. It's time to get the scope out. I was like, you don't know what a good or bad reading looks like. What are you talking about? You put that away.
yeah.
You can't
Right.
do anything with that right now. And I mean, like I say it in joking, but like for the longest time, that's when I pull a scope out. I would never hook a scope up to a good car and go
Right.
take a test
Mm-hmm.
drive. I was just like,
Yeah.
all right, I don't even know what this is supposed to say. So how do I know what this looks
I,
like?
I'm out of options. Let me grab the tool that I'm not really sure how to use. So that'll help me out of this bind.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, I've been there too. Been there too, for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
It's pretty it's pretty it's pretty refreshing to be in an organization that just just wants to teach, man. And obviously the goal is to be profitable. I mean, that's just the pretty much the principle of any business. But a lot of there's a lot of good of being in a company who's starting because it's kind of a clean slate. Like we can take all the mistakes that all the other companies are making and then just see how we can get better. And hopefully it does because you know what I'm actually excited for. It sounds dumb. The app. Yeah.
That's being released. I'm thinking that's coming out second quarter of this year, but it'll put it right at all the tech's fingertips. I mean, I know they play a lot of time, they spend a lot of time on their phones, but you'll be able to do training right there and just, be able to go through the app. And if you're stuck, we're currently building a case study series. I mean, that's what Andrew Fisher's been doing with us. He's building live case studies off of what he's currently working on. None of our trainers are, and again, I always I don't want to give any names, but the part store trainings that you've seen at night, the ones that are with the guy who's been out of the industry for 20 years. My last one, we walked into it was a HID lighting class, and they put it on. They had dinner and everything like that. And it was like $50 a person. So I asked everybody to shop. They're like, yeah, we'll go. We don't care. And my techs really do enjoy the training portion. So they went for dinner. I had to run an errand. I dropped some stuff off and I run back up there and I'm just getting in there as they probably been started for 5 minutes. And I walk in, I sit down with my team, and there is a guy, he's got a ballast out of an HID headlight wired up, and he's got it plugged into an HID bulb that's in a capsule. He then says, like, so how do you guys test these? And that was the whole point, was the diagnostic portion, because people were just guessing at what they need. And he takes the HID ballast and now he's got this connector that he plugs into it. He's got two live wires off this ballast and he blows up an 1157. He touches it and it goes pop. And I was like, I'm thinking like, okay, what's he trying to show here? And he does it three or four more times and people are starting to laugh. And he's like, well, now we know this thing has voltage. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, what in the hell's going on here? And that was my last. I just said, I'm never doing it again. And this is right as we started TechFix. And I was just like, good Lord. It's because somebody went back with that knowledge, right? Like, as much as we have bad shops, we have some bad owners, we have some bad technicians, there are bad trainers out there too. And I hate to say that, but, this was a bad training. I wrote the company and I was like, that was ridiculous. I don't even know what he was trying to get to. I didn't give him long enough. But if I ever catch one of my technicians doing that, I'm going to be pretty upset.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, and it's being a trainer, right? You don't want to like put down anybody else or whatever, but man, I like what I do, man. I take pride in it. I put the work in to make sure that the student leaves with a, oh man, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait till I run into that. That's my objective. And I went to a class at one of the quote unquote premier training events, and the guy basically shows up. He looks like he was hungover, and he's just like, yeah, I didn't really prepare well for it, so we'll just kind of go with what I got. And I'm like, dude, like some of these shop owners are spending tens of thousands of dollars to send their guys to listen to this. And I'm like, this can't be good. And then we spent an hour looking at a waveform, right? A K-line BMW, and I recognized the waveform. It was a K-line BMW waveform, and we spent an hour dissecting the waveform. And he was like, "Hey, yeah, I'm just kidding. This is a bad waveform." And I'm like, "What?" So I said, "I'm like, so what are we doing here? Why are we looking at a bad one?" Oh, I just thought it'd be fun. I was like, "All right, home slice, peace out." I got up and I went into another class. I
Yeah.
was like, "This is ridiculous, dude." Like, I'm telling you, people like, and then to a point, right? Like as a shop owner, why would you even send some like why would you even spend the money on this? It's a
Yeah.
good like experience, right, for your employees or whatever, like to get out, unwind or whatever. But at that point, dude, just pay for their family to go to Disney or something, man. You'll spend just as much money, and they'll
Yeah.
probably have a better time.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't understand.
Yeah. Now that I've been like paying for the training that my employees are going to, I start to look at it, I guess, with a different perspective than just me going to an event. Because, like, I don't know, if I'm going to Vision, I'm like, well, even if I don't learn something or I don't like the classes, like I'll be hanging out with a bunch of people I like and stuff. But obviously, when I send my guys, I really want them to get something out of it and bring it back. And so I'm really looking
It's
at the classes and the instructors
ROI,
and
man.
like,
It's
yeah, is it going to be valuable to spend to because yeah, you're sending them, you're paying for their flight and their hotel and all that stuff, and you're losing the money that while they're gone and paid time off, and so like it ends up being, like you say, tens of thousands of dollars to send people to these events. Like, you better not be hungover
and
and joking around about a
and then
bad waveform.
I was at an event, and I voiced my displeasure, and I got panned for it. And I'm just like, dude, you go to a restaurant and you get an overcooked steak. What are you gonna do? You gonna chuck that thing right back? Because I'm not paying money for something I don't want to eat. It's the same thing. Like this is not good. Like this can be better. These are our training events. They need to be good, and they're not.
Are you guys doing classes at events like Vision in person?
Yeah, so we have our own training center with TechFix, and it's actually in Franklin, Tennessee. And currently, in 2 weeks, we're doing a foreman certification. This is where like a 3-day event where we bring just shop foremen in, and we teach them all the things they need to know. It's a 3-day intensive. We only do about 40 to 50 per class. We bring them into the room, and it's 3 days, 8-hour days, and we go through all the things they need to know. What I keep seeing in a repetitive form, though, is that, like, again, you'll have some owners, and this was myself included, that just wants to have their hands in everything and they don't let enough control out there, and they handicap people. They can't do their job, right? So we see that a lot. But we do our 3-day training for foremen. In March, Tommy's actually teaching at that one. We have our spring training event. That one we should have about 400 to 500 people at.
Are
And
you shitting me?
yeah, so hope you're ready. Yeah. So,
Can I swear at that one?
hmm? No, no swearing, man. Got to keep it PG. We keep it clean. Yeah, so
All
we'll have
right.
about 500 people. We'll do another one in the fall. We do a couple of these foreman training events throughout the year. And, so we have our live events. And then we also run it's a combined effort between Shop Fix Academy and Sales Fix. We run a manager and foreman conference. This is the one where we bridge the gap. For most of those, I've had the privilege to MC those. I have a good time, get to goof around with everybody. I get to let my inner technician be a dork and shine at being goofy and make people laugh. So that's always been awesome and fun. But I honestly, as much as I love training the technicians, and as much as I love training owners, some of my funnest times come from that manager foreman conference when you get the two people who are in charge of the results at the shop, and you tell them and you just explain to them how to bridge the gap between the front of house and back of house. We're both problem solvers. We have different skill sets. We get to bridge the gap and pull these two together and then make them a united force to just help, even if it has to be like, hey, you need to step on your owner's toes a little bit and tell them, like here's where we want to go as a group, but if you keep getting in our way, it's going to be a problem. Or they have fantastic owners and they're just looking to push them up and elevate them. I really enjoy those events because, like, by the beginning, you can kind of tell the room's divided. You got half the managers, half the foremen. By the end, you can kind of tell they're a team, and it works really well. It's neat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys did the manager and foreman one.
Yeah, that's I wish I had the dates in front of me here. I don't. But yeah, if you guys want more information, the website is techfix.training. Everything's listed up there. You'll see all of our live events. We post them all there too.
And what's in store for you, man? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like full time, tech fix shop, another shop location, maybe.
I don't know. See, a lot of people, and again, I think a lot of people buy a second shop just to keep up with the Joneses, right? And I'm having a lot of fun with my team. I think it's a little different. I didn't buy mine. I'm kind of like Tommy, like I was originally a technician, so some people say I hate money. But we make quite a bit out of that shop, and I really love the team and I enjoy them. So we have a good time. And I mean, my team busts their ass every day. So if another shop fell in my lap and it was a great deal, I'd absolutely do it. But if also at the same time, if I'm only ever just a one shop owner, I'm absolutely fine with that. I have no plans on quitting ShopFix or TechFix. I like being able to do both. I get the leeway and the freedom to help these people and teach them. I mean, originally when ShopFix started, it used to have the tagline, fix the owner, fix the shop. It still does, but now we're starting to see this where like it's starting to evolve because now on top of that, we're elevating the employees as well. Like even during our conferences the training center, we have the owners come in. A lot of owners bring employees. So I've even got the privilege to like where we break the owners off for separate trainings that are just owner specific. I get to yank all the employees to one of the training rooms and I get to just go over day-to-day processes with them. And a lot of times again, I'll get some of the same complaints as like, my owner just won't let go. I'm like, just have the difficult conversation with them and tell them. I mean, you'll see your life change. And when I get to do that with an employee, because like that stuff's like life changing for them because you're only making one problem go away and it just makes their lives so much better. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So how do you find time to run a shop and then you're doing the shop fix coaching and then running the tech fix and that's like all the hours in the day right there.
yeah. So I have my manager runs my shop. I don't,
Okay.
in
Okay.
complete transparency. I go in and I help with like the crazy, when I say crazy diags, by no means am I saying I'm a fantastic technician. I'm not even a great diagnostic tech, but I'm just really thorough with being able to like I could usually find the information I need. So where and again, I don't mean to sound egotistical, but it was like always like I would always scour service information and just find like muddle my way through. By no means am I the fastest and stuff. So I'll help from time to time one of my techs with a heavy diagnostic, something like that. But my manager covers the day to day. I just have to check in with her once a day, see where she's at. And normally she doesn't even need that. She's just like, we got it, man. You're good. Just go do your thing. And they know what I'm doing here. So I take them out to all the training events that we have that are live and they get to see what happens. So I feel like they're behind the same cause. Like we're all after the same vision, right? So if it wasn't for them doing their job at the shop, I couldn't do my job with TechFix and ShopFix. So I mean that gives me a ton of free time to be home here in my office and working on that stuff.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
sweet. That's awesome.
That's a dream right there. Having a business and not having to work in
Yeah.
it.
My manager's only 25 years old, man. We hit the jackpot when we hired her. So she was 19 working at a Toyota dealership. She was a file clerk. And then after the service advisors would go home at the end of the night, like from like 7 p.m. or 6 p.m., like she would stay and she would sell for the quick lube. And then she saw our ad for a service advisor and just great personality. And like she's on point. I'm very visionary. She's very implementary. So like I drive her nuts all the time because I'm constantly wanting to change stuff, but like she just implements it and takes off. So we work really good together. But
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
pretty.
I'm definitely in that in between. Well, not even in between. I'm still heavily involved in the day to day and out in the van doing the technical work and stuff, but then trying to be the business owner too. And I'm I'm definitely seeing like I got to at least work towards the transition of not having to be on the cars every single day. I think Tommy, you talked about that same thing just a little while ago. Is like you got to take a day off a week, or at least start with that. That's what I'm working towards right now. Is like stepping back at least a little bit so that I can just be the owner. But like you mentioned, like so many people in this industry, it's probably most of them like we're all techs turned owners in one fashion or another, and it's tough. Yeah, and I'm doing the mobile thing, so it's like it's a little bit different than a shop, but in a lot of ways, it's very similar.
It has its advantages and disadvantages, right? Because for one, you don't have the overhead,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have the income or like some
No,
of
no
the
parts margin.
correct, like some of the
Yeah,
margins, the kickbacks, and the rebates, and you get none of the easy work.
right.
I mean, some of it, like programming stuff like that, can be considered the easy gravy work, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still extremely expensive. Tooling
Yeah.
subscriptions.
That's an electrician, and he owns an electrical contracting company. And when we were younger, he started out of the back of like a old like '88 Chevy Suburban, and a pair of pliers and some dikes, and like his basic hand tools, and he was able to go get some jobs and stuff, and he built it from the ground up. So I have a ton of respect for what he does, but him and I have this running joke because like now he's got a huge company, right? And I'm like, oh, you're finally into the big boy overhead. And I bust him, but like he one of his guys totaled one of his vans, and I'm like, oh great. I said, so your entire overhead for one of your production facilities is almost as much as my alignment machine. And man, we would go back and forth at it. It was great. But I
Yeah.
mean,
What is it?
we like he has a problem where, like I get to like people oversee what my staff's doing. He's got guys going out and there's no one overseeing that. So it'll be a whole new set of problems, I would think.
What is it with the trades in our trade, man? Have you ever noticed that every time you talk to one of these tradesmen, they always tend to shit on us, but yet they
Oh
say we
yeah.
charge too much.
That we charge too much,
I was
and
like,
when their
bro,
van breaks, they need us.
you you hooked up 2 wires. You unclogged my toilet, and it's $300. What do you mean I charge too much? My dentist had the audacity to tell me, because I don't know why we made conversation, or she was just chit chatting, and she was just asking, oh, what I did. Oh, I have a shop. Oh, where is it? Blah blah. Oh, I go to this shop. Oh, I know them. They're pretty good. I don't like telling people, yeah, I go to do work at that shop, right? I'm just like, oh yeah, I know the owner. He's a very very nice guy. It's like, yeah, but they're so expensive. I was like, bitch, like you're charging my insurance $700 for this fucking filling that took you 30 minutes. Yeah, you're saying
Uh-huh.
that we charge a lot? Get the fuck out of here. I was like, y'all got some nerve, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, this is exactly why we have service advisors and why we have technicians.
Yep,
Because you don't belong on the front counter talking to customers, because you tell them that.
hug 'em.
Oh,
Just kidding.
no, I
No,
know.
I thought it. I didn't tell her that. I thought it though,
For sure.
especially when with a drill in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pick your moment there.
Yeah, no, it's always wild to me. I had a complete argument with a union floor guy about how his job was so difficult. I'm like, dude, you cut and tape wood? How hard is that? Oh, we got more money and tools. I'm like, dude, my last scan tool I just bought cost more than your car. Like, out of my face, man.
It's crazy. I mean, realistically here, like what we're trying to do is just, I mean, we know that I still believe most of the industry is underpaid. I don't think there's any disconnect from that for the amount of
No.
schooling and tools we have to go through and the constant training. I think everybody in this industry is underpaid. Now, again, I would love to see where, most of our technicians are making 100, 150, 200 grand a year. And I know it's available in some areas, but again, different markets, different prices, and it depends on what you're doing too in your business model. Like I've talked to people who are like, I don't give my techs training, we only do oil changes, brakes, tires. So like we could train that in house, and I get that. So if you know your lane, you stay in your lane, that's fine. And again, I see where like, I mean, we just had I think it was a 2024 Dodge in the shop. We couldn't even do a brake job and bleed the brakes without. It took, I don't know, between the pressure bleeder, the scan tool, and the auto auth access. By the time you get done, you can't even do that stuff yourself anymore. So it's just crazy. And I'm wondering what these shops are going to do. Like, if you don't adapt and you don't grow with the market, I mean, that's how Kodak went out of business, right?
And die.
Yeah.
Kodak,
Hmm.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to be another
Polaroid.
dinosaur. So hopefully we can get the awareness out there that regardless of what model you have, you still need to make sure your guys are trained. And even if it's not the training so you can do the work, it's the training so you know what not to
It's
touch.
it's you know what though, like I'll give it a point though, man. I think it's a deeper rooted issue than just to say, yeah, we're not respected and we're underpaid. Um, but the problem is, man, like it's just the entire industry. Like I don't think people just really realize that they're driving an $80,000 car. So an $80,000 car in 4 or 5 years is worth what, 20, 30?
$80,000 maintenance.
But it's still an $80,000 car with $80,000 worth of parts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So because they didn't pay $80,000 for it, see what I'm saying? Like they paid $700 a month.
Well, that or they paid 15 grand for it, and it was 10 years old, but it still has $80,000
Yeah.
maintenance.
So
Yeah.
that's the hard part with this industry, and then also like to be self-serving, man. There's also always somebody willing to try something for cheap,
Hmm.
and then finally it's the ego. Oh, hey Sean, man, I just had to change my brakes, man. I paid $800, man. It sucks. Now I can't go out with you. Oh, you're an idiot, man. I know this shop down the street. He only charges $50 if you bring him all the parts, man. You got ripped off. So now it's, oh man, I got ripped off. Not that, well, buddy down the street doesn't have insurance and doesn't pay workers' comp, and if he leaves my tires loose, then who am I gonna sue?
Yeah.
So that's a toss up.
We've been trying to change this for a while. So we ran on our Facebook page for the shop, we run specials all the time. We do free pre-purchase inspections, right? Because I've had enough customers come in and we're in the rust belt, so their car be rotted out. We tell them, hey, listen, don't put any money into it. Just it's time. And then they go trade it in. They take their car that needs 5,000, 6,000, or it's just a car that needs $5,000 or $6,000 worth of work. They take it and trade it in. They spend 10 grand on something that needs $5,000 or $6,000 worth of work to make it safe or at least reliable, and then they're frustrated. So we started doing free pre-purchase inspections, and the local shops in our area have given us a bunch of flack saying, you can't, why would you do that? I was like, guys, it takes us 10 to 15 minutes. And I mean, we look at usually 10 to 15 cars for people before they actually find a good one in most cases, unless they're buying certified pre-owned. But if they're going out and they have like 10 or 12 grand, they're usually looking at like the mom and pop side car lots. And we know for a fact most of them don't like they don't really go through those cars with a fine tooth comb. They fix what they see and that's it. Bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want somebody to spend 12, 14, $16,000 of their hard-earned money and then go ahead and after they spend all that money, they can't afford to fix or drive the car they have. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, just but also, man, like some people deserve it, man. like some people deserve it, man. I've run into situations where like I have a person that might need like a somewhat heavy repair, right? Two grand, $3,000 repair, a trans or something, right, on a solid car, like solid, like engine, great engine, good parts, good tires, whatever. Then they'll go and trade it in for like a newer car that's not a reliable car. And then 6 months
Third
later,
owner
they're in the
BMW.
same boat. They're in the same boat that they were in before, but now they have a car note. So it's also the American way of moving money of repeat financing, and you keep people in the hole.
I'm not a salesperson at all, right? I'm not a service advisor. I'm just really good with people. So when I do teach sales skills or I'm good at the mindset stuff, when I teach that stuff to my front counter, I tell them, I'm like, listen, you didn't build it, break it, or buy it. You need to have empathy for the customer and you have to try to figure out a solution from their point of view, right? They made a bad decision, but it's not our job to judge. So we're going to take that, but we're not going to have sympathy for them, but we will have empathy. You don't need to feel bad for them. Just need to figure out how to fix the problem. So we're constantly going back and forth with them, trying to figure out, like what I tell my advisors all the time, it has to be the advisor and the customer versus the problem or the car, right? If at any point in time it becomes the advisor or the shop versus the customer and car, we've already lost. Just stop pushing, stop trying to make, they're already frustrated, they're already mad. We did something wrong, something changed. We have to find a way to get them back to where we're helping them. If we're always looking at it from a place of empathy, then we're doing our job as a company. And truly, again, that's why I think there's just the two different sets of skill sets. We're both problem solvers, but you definitely have your front of house people and your back of house people.
Agreed.
And there's a very small percentage in the industry that could do both, in my opinion.
No, that's accurate. It's usually people gravitate towards one or the other. That they have the mindset or the skill set to.
Yeah.
That's where they want to be. That was me. I hired somebody to deal with the customers because I didn't want to. So
Yeah. Well, what would get me is like I would bust like and I had some ego early on, but I would like charge a customer 4 hours for something that took me 15. Now, 8 of that was probably me figuring out what to do because I didn't have the right skill set, so that was my fault. But the rest that I went above and beyond and made sure it was perfect, and then they're going to complain about something stupid. That's where I would lose my temper, and I'd be so frustrated with that customer that I'm like, you know what? And I completely understand where the fire the customer mentality comes from. But where I don't agree with the other coaching companies or the groups where they say just fire that customer and get rid of them is put somebody who's in charge of customer service in that position and you don't have to deal with it and they'll just make it happen and then you're done, right? I mean, I feel like we fired maybe 3 customers in a lifetime, like of the entire time we've been open. And I feel like it's just because we come at everything from an empathy standpoint and we try to work with everybody. We understand, like, even when they're mad or they're yelling, they're not yelling at us, they're just mad at their problem. They're mad their car's broke.
Back when I was doing everything, I didn't really get upset at a lot, except for a keyword, or you're ripping me off, or you're trying to rip me off, because my biggest battle where I'm at is diag. In my area, nobody charges for diag, or it's all rolled into the bill. And I've always been upfront, like, nah, man, like, it's this time that needs to be covered, and it is what it is, and I refuse to do that. And whether I'm right or wrong, it's just I just don't like it. And I'll talk to customers, and then they'll, like, again, they'll start off, and I just try to explain to them, like, listen, I get where you're coming from, but I'm trying to help you solve your problem. And next thing you know, it's just like, yeah, but I feel like you're trying to rip me off for something that I can get done for free. I'm like, well, you're calling me a rip off, and I haven't even touched your car, but yet you bought an ECM and you bought a transmission. You had no problems paying for that, but now that I'm trying to solve your issue, now it's a problem. That's when I'm like, you know what, man, hit the bricks.
I think that's where, like, you need a disconnect from the guy who's actually fixing it to the customer service portion, and I think that's why everybody has their place.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
um, you guys mentioned earlier, Tommy, you brought up like that ShopFix in general has had a bad perspective out there. I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on that, or I don't really know much about it outside of just like things you hear in passing. But I don't know if you guys wanted to dive into that or.
I think, like I said, a lot of it, for us personally, I know there's a lot of shops in ShopFix that run the flat rate model, and they think that we're just ramming it down people's throats. I have people in my tribe, and I'm just being honest. I made a lot more money when my techs were hourly. I was a fairly good leader. I could motivate the team, and we just cranked out work. I made more money, but it's not fair to them, right? Like, they're using their skill set, they're spending their time doing training. They should make more. I actually, as an owner, I make less money paying my team flat rate because they do their job and they do it well. Now, there's a whole bunch of caveats to the flat rate argument. We could probably spend days on that, but I don't believe you put a C-level technician on flat rate. I believe you coach people through it. And I also, in my own shop, it is my job to get cars in the door. I handle the marketing. So if I screw up the marketing and marketing doesn't go out or the phone's not ringing, that's on me and I will cover your paycheck. There's no reason that any of my technicians should go hungry. I don't believe in when the shop or the shop struggles or we should share the pain. I don't believe in that model. I think that's BS. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then we run like aggressive marketing campaigns, and it gets made fun of all the time. But we'll run an oil change that's $39 or $29.95. And I'll be honest, when I was growing and people wouldn't give me a chance, that's the thing that got a lot of customers in the door. I don't think I'd be where I was if I didn't do that. Because if I was running, like, I've seen shops locally to me running a $109 oil change. And I mean, if you need to make money on an oil change, I get it, but it's just a loss leader, right? It's a break even, and then we get to look over the car and recommend the repairs it needs. We do it ethically, and it works. But again, if you're in a really affluent area that has a ton of, like European cars, or you're working on strictly diesel trucks, that may not be the model for you. And we're not going to ram that down your throat. And I don't know where it comes from that that's all we push, but I mean, that's why I think the individual coaching platform works. I don't think you can get some help out of like a giant group like the big 20 gears, but I still think you need, like, on some level, you need some support, like to be able to run through your case piece by piece, or at the very least find people who are doing what you do and make it work.
And I think that's what we were talking about earlier is the generalization, right? That because XYZ said this and XYD said this and this one said this and all of them are the same,
Hmm.
right? Like every single shop fix shop is under the same motto, and then it's always like the shop owner's gonna get rich out the backs of the technicians and yada yada yada. So I think looking back at my own um, judgment of it and misconceptions, I can see where like the maybe a couple bad apples basically made all the noise for the majority of
Let's
the
be
group. I want to
real.
say.
I don't even know if it's bad apples, right? Because I personally know a couple that are frustrated with Chop Fix, and most of what I see from the ones that I know personally, they're frustrated with it, but they were technicians that really wrapped their identity into being a good technician. And one of the things we do push is to get you out of the shop. You can't work on the business while you're working in the business. You can't be focused on marketing. You can't be focused on training. You can't be focused on doing the things that you need to do to be able to provide. Like I have, like, so we employ, in a total, we employ 13 people, right? Not including myself or my wife. I have 13 people I have to worry about every single day to make sure that that I take care of them. And it's not just those 13. How many do they have orbiting around them? My foreman has 2 kids and a wife. Most of my technicians are married. My manager's married. I mean, like, I got all these people I got to think about. My advisors have kids. Like, that lays heavy on me at night. So when I'm thinking about all that, if I'm in the shop turning wrenches every single day, I can't think of how do we grow? How do we push to the next level? How do we market? Like, where could we drop some prices and do a better service for our customers? How do we provide more value than what we're providing now? And I can't do all that if I'm doing that. And when you ask a technician that is heavily driven in training, that loves, like, really loves what they're doing, but they're still a business owner, and you ask them to step out of that role, it really upsets some of them. So there are a few that I've seen that with. And I mean, again, if you know, and I'm not even going to say an ego-driven technician, just a passionate technician. If you know them, they're loud and boisterous, and they will voice their opinion. When Tomi and I came on, I said, I'm not going to BS you, man. If you want to work with us, it's going to be, here's what you could expect, and I'll call it just like I see it every time. If I don't like something, I'm going to let you know, and if, I'll let you know what I want. And I'm just going to ask that you do the same with me. And that's what I ask out of my clients, and that's what I ask out of, like, the other people inside of ShopFix.
You ain't got to worry about me telling you the truth, partner.
Well, I mean, if I'm doing something that frustrates you, I need to know, right? Like, or if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, I'd rather you not do it. I'd rather
I
find
mean,
somebody else to do it. Because, I mean, if there's no passion behind it, it's not going to come out with heart, and then it's going to be a crappy product, and then that translates down to our members and what they're going to feel. So
exactly.
if you're just going to do it and go through the motions, I'd rather you didn't do it. I tell my team the same thing at the shop. Listen, if you're going to be here, be here. But if you don't like it, go do what you love. You spend a third of your life at work, probably more time with us than you spend with your family. Go do something you like. I don't care if it's a Walmart greeter, but just get out of here and go do it. And I've had people leave us because of that mentality. But I want you to be there because you want to be there, not because you have to be there because you want a job.
Agreed. Yeah. If your heart's not in it, then you're wasting both of our times.
Yeah.
Because potentially there's somebody down the street that can be a better replacement of you, or a better fit, better said.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, again, I fired a technician that was a terrible fit for us, and actually one of my good friends locally here hired him, and they're like, "This person's amazing," and I'm like, "That's fantastic. I'm glad they're working out for you." It just wasn't working with our team. They didn't clash well, and I protect culture at all costs. So we have a really good thing. I love going to work every day. Like when I show up at the shop, I genuinely have a good time, even when I have to put out a fire or fix something. I genuinely like what I do, and if I become miserable with that, I mean, then I'll just close it down. There's no reason. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna run something that I'm miserable at.
Yeah. I think that's the key to all of this. Is just do it and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like, I push a lot of training, but I have, if I have a technician that's in my shop that is just a B-level technician that's never going to become a diagnostician or an A-level technician, we just have to know what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're completely happy. Also, too, you have some people that are starting to age out, right? And how do you handle that throughout the shop too? So I've got if you get a technician that's older, we'll start to run these teams between that and a younger C-level technician so that they're not beating up their body anymore. We'll run this team where they could mentor. We could still utilize them and pay them very well for what they do, but at the same time, they don't have to be the ones to absolutely kill themselves. They just get to use that, all the experience they've done over the years and just pass it on to somebody else. But I mean, there's way too many shops hire, all low-level technicians or cheaper techs, and then they're frustrated that they can't do the job they need. And
You're setting them up for failure, man. I mean, I don't
it is,
understand.
and then we wonder why so many leave the industry, right?
Huh. I mean, shoot, one of a very talented individual who got stuck in a pretty bad situation at a local dealership. They had him in limbo for like 17, $18 an hour, which is kind of sad for here because our minimum wage is $15.50. And guess where he went to go work at? Brinks, the alarm company.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27, $28 an hour to start.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
To hook up 4 sensors and a keypad. I'm not trying to like say that the job is easy by any means, but like, it's granted it's a lighter work day. You're not trying to, hang tires and suspension work and light duty repair. It's just a lot easier. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's gonna be depending, man. It could be easy, it could be tough, it could be great for us. We just don't know what the next 5 years holds for us.
I think it's gonna be awesome. You guys know what it was like after 2008. I mean, 2008 was
It was
a
brutal.
bumpy year, but 9, 10, 11, and 12 got better and better. The average age of the vehicle on the road increased, and it worked really good for us. I think we're going to come into that play again. We had how many vehicles we didn't have sold and the interest rates went crazy. So I think the next couple of years are going to be really good years for everybody doing this, but only if they have the right process.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, you're good.
I think so too, but mainly because of the quote unquote the loans that are underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that I'm keeping an eye out because if you think about it, right, what's the average warranty for a vehicle right now? 3 years, 5 years on powertrain, right? We're approaching 5 years from COVID, so a lot of these cars that were 30K over, and they had an additional, they were probably underwater like another 10, 15K, so that's 45K. They're not going to be able to roll that over into another loan, man. There's no way. So they have to keep this car and they have to fix it. So that's what I'm banking on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're doing good inspections for your customers, you're not just, I mean, there are shops that just fix what they came in for, address the customer concern and get it out. What we're teaching is just to look over the entire car, give the customer just a baseline on what you see, and then prioritize their repairs. You need this now, you're going to need this in 3 to 6 months, and you're going to need this eventually. If you could just break it down into those 3 sections, and then you could find a way to make it fit their budget. I mean, granted, I understand somebody's going to need a motor. It's going to cost $6-7 grand, and they're not going to have that kind of money, but but for the most part, you could usually get through most of the repairs, and even if you have to do it in steps. I mean, like I said, we're in a lower median income. We run a lower ARO. We keep ours right around 500, and it's not by design. It's just by what the market allows me to do. So as we do that, we just have to put more touches on the cars. It artificially drives our car count higher because we have to get a customer back 2 or 3 times in a year instead of just that one time to fix, a bigger ticket.
Awesome. That's a great shop owner information too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I think like the techs need to know this too, right? Like if they don't understand how, I mean, I think at the very least they should understand the basic understandings, right? Because like the technicians, they're the ones. I mean, I don't care how you look at it. I know that if you don't have somebody to sell the work, it can't get done. But the technicians are the ones that have to do they're the main part in the key to key, right? Like they're the ones who have to look at it initially, look it over, quote it, test drive it, diag it, fix it right, confirm the repair, then drive it again, make sure it's done, and you don't have to worry about anything, and it's all good. The customer won't get back a subpar product. They got so much wrapped up in that. I think if they understand a little bit more of the business workings, I think they start to see the bigger picture, right? Because I think there's a huge disconnect between the front of house and back of house, and as we break this all down, it starts to really affect technicians. If technicians don't understand that when they get screwed up, when they screw up, somebody else gets yelled at. When they make the wrong call, and we have to eat parts, somebody else's commission gets affected, not just theirs. So I think all that comes into play.
Now, real quick, Um, that's one of the reasons why I like the app, and I'm not sure. Can we talk about it, or
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, Lowell said that it was going to have a
productivity tracker. So it's
productivity
Oh,
tracker.
really?
there, where technicians can enter in their hours and stuff, like hours they worked, hours they flagged, and they can start tracking these KPIs. Tonight, right before this call, which is why I couldn't do it earlier, I had this one, but we did a class. I was just teaching on the KPIs, like what is a technician quote, what the close ratio should be, hours per car, efficiency, productivity, and what a good comeback ratio is, right? And we were going over this with technicians, and one techs, he asked me flat out, he's like, why do I need to know how many hours per car they are? I was like, that's awesome. And he's like, well, we run like 6 hours per car. I said, again, every model is slightly different, but we said we teach if you keep it between 2.5 and 3 hours per car, excuse me, 2.5 and 3.5 hours per car, that's usually a healthy shop, right? That's the right mix of maintenance plus you're fixing whatever breaks. If you're not doing maintenance for your customers, they're ending up in your heavy line bay and you start running hours per car way higher. When you start running the hours per car higher, they end up in the heavy line bay. They need engines, transmissions, and you're not doing your customer, you're doing them a disservice. So it's important for technicians to know that stuff too, because if you don't have a good sales team up in the front and you have to kind of pad that, in order to be able to grow the shop, to make good hours, be able to sell profitable work, and also not to have to touch as many cars, it's easier for the technician to work on that car a little bit more doing maintenance and stuff than it is to be stuck on your bay doing a 10-hour engine job.
Well, just to be an advocate for yourself, like next time you have a performance review or you want to ask for a raise or
100%.
you're looking for another job, to have those numbers to actually show whoever's making those decisions. Boy, like there's not going to be a whole lot of other techs most likely in your shop that are doing the same thing. Like most guys maybe know how many hours they bill in a week and that's about it. But if you could break it down to that level and have an app to track it, that's pretty sweet.
Even if you don't have the app and you just know your numbers, right? Like
Yeah.
again, if you know your tech quote for your average American Asian shop is somewhere around that $1,200 to $1,400 mark, if you know what your tech quote's supposed to be, but your close ratio is super low, or it's only low with one advisor, I mean, you can pinpoint where the problem is. If it's only low with one advisor,
It's
there's
always the advisor's fault.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
my technicians, again, they would always claim it's bad sales, but then we go and we show them like, hey, your tech quote's down. You're not doing full inspections. Especially when we're busy. And then we look at the business side of it and we look at peaks and valleys. Like we're busy this month, dead the next month. Well, the inspection sucked when we were busy, and then we're dead the following month because the inspection stuck the month before. We could learn to level out the business a little bit and help out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
yeah, I was really, really impressed when I saw, like, man, that's a great tool, especially for, hey, Mr. Boss Man, it's time for that raise, please. Why? Well, here
100%.
you go. This is why. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
Every event we have, I teach, like, again, especially when I talk to the technicians, I tell them, I asked the same question. I said, who here wants a raise? And everybody throws their hand up. I said, who here knows how to get a raise? And everybody's hand goes down. I was
Cricket.
like, it's super easy. It's one of two things. You either become more valuable than what you're paid for, right? So you put in the effort first, or you walk up to your boss, manager, whoever's in charge of giving you a raise. You say, how do I get a raise? Super easy. Like, just ask the question. I want a raise. How do I get a raise? I love when people come to me and ask this because I get to offload all my responsibility onto them and walk away free and clear. I'm just buying my time back. So as an owner, that's all I want is my time back, and I'll pay you for it. You take it off my plate and you do it good, it's yours. Have at it. And I mean, we pay for training. That's like, again, I know that's a point of contention for a lot of shop owners, but I don't believe a technician should have to invest a ton of their own time. Some, but not 90% of their own time in training. We pay for training. And that's the way I think it should be. And again, we put our techs through training and we set up, like tangible goals for them to hit so they know where they're at and where they can get their next pay raise at. So
That's
if you
awesome,
don't
man.
know,
I love it.
you won't get there.
Cool. Well, what we'll do is we'll definitely put the links in the show notes to when this episode goes live. But one more time, just for everybody listening, if they want to check some of this stuff out, where do they go?
They can go right to techfix.training. If you
Okay.
guys want any more information, I mean, you care if I give my email address out? So, or anything?
Yeah, up to you.
Yeah, it's just Kevin at techfix.training. You know, if you want to email me and tell me you hate it, then just don't, and I won't read it. It'll be cool. No, yeah, I mean, honestly, we're here for you guys. If you just want any general information about the program pricing or anything else, you could see it on the website, but also you could email admin@techfix.training. Realistically, I mean, the whole point of this is to actually physically change the industry and make it better. I think this industry has just struggled for way too long. You know, my heart goes out to all the technicians that are really suffering, or especially the new techs. Like my son's 17 and he is so ambitious, but I could just see how easy it is. Like, I mean, and I've done it where I've broken a new tech and, like, just the shop environment, or you just give them the wrong jobs. You don't give them the right amount of training. Tools are crazy expensive. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that, but it's just insane. And then you put these guys in an environment where it's already caustic enough, and it's super hard to flourish
Was
there.
it you that ran off a Snap-on guy or a Mac guy?
So we had a C-level technician that came in, and so I personally don't buy a ton of Mac tools. Most of my stuff Snap-on. I don't care what you buy, but the Mac guy, I do have a rule in my shop that if you're a C-level technician or less, you have to ask for permission before you buy a toolbox. I won't let you offload it in the shop. So the Mac guy talked a C-level, like second year on the job, C-level into this 22 or $28,000 toolbox, and
Jeez.
they tried to
Jesus
offload it.
Christ.
And I was like, you put that right back on the truck and get out. And he's like, oh, he signed the deal. It's his. I was like, it's not being unloaded here. I was like, and we argued for hours over it. I was like, rip up the contract. I don't care. He's a C-level technician. We don't even know if he's going to stick with it. Now, he's
Yeah.
still with us to this day. It's been, we got to be going on 7 years now. And now he has a bigger toolbox, but like multiple times he has referenced that what a mistake that would have been, Like that's what do you? I don't care if it's just $100 a week. That's crazy. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, like, I love when people invest in themselves. I love when people invest in the trade. If this is your calling and that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you don't do it at that level. You
No.
step up. And I told him, for you to even do that, I understand where you're coming from the sales side, but for you to even do that to somebody, that's slimy. So we
Mm-hmm.
never saw him again. He never came back, and we got a new Mac guy now. So
Good riddance.
yeah,
Dirtbag.
it's not the company. It was just that one guy. Had nothing to do with the company,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
yeah. But yeah, that was crappy, man. And I don't want to see, and again, I think that's where a lot of that comes from in the course too. We try to teach, don't go into debt. I know you could joke all you want, but the Harbor Freight box holds the tools just like the Snap-on
Dude,
or the Matco one
I
does.
Sure
wish this stuff
does.
existed when I started working on cars.
No
Those
kidding.
Craftsman
Right.
tools suck, dude. Holy crap, they were terrible.
I still have a bump on this knuckle from a Craftsman wrench slipping, and I would have killed for an Icon wrench back then.
Yep. I real quick, I was at a junkyard pulling off a knuckle, and I broke two Craftsman sockets, right? So then I walked around and I met a mechanic buddy, and I asked him to borrow me a socket. He borrowed me a Snap-on socket, and then I hit it with a pipe, and the ratchet broke. I was like, man, all right, it's time to upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we have a rule, like I said, all the tool guys that come by, like if they're a C-level technician, they have to talk to me or my foreman before they're allowed to unload a box. We don't let them make the decisions by themselves. And I think more owners should do that. Some
Yeah.
people tell me I'm crazy and it's none of my business, but it really is, because that employee is going to be strapped for cash.
Yeah, you're looking out for them. They'd snag the oil change techs at Firestone and
Yep.
get them with a 10 grand toolbox, and they have like, a socket set and an oil filter wrench. I'm like, what are you doing? But yeah, that's awesome that you're looking out for them like that for sure.
Nobody did that. Well, I shouldn't say nobody did that for me. I worked when early on. I worked at Mercedes, and we had toolboxes that were provided to us by the
Mm,
dealership. But
okay.
I mean, nobody watched out for the tools that I was buying, and I was starting to buy some Mercedes specialty tools. And finally, this one old guy walked over, and I mean, he was the guy who worked through all the dealership levels, and it was a multi
That brand.
make dealer. And but now he's just doing like janitorial duties and looking over things. He walks over, he goes, "You can keep buying those tools. They're not going to make you any better of a tech, and you're going to be broke." He goes, "But it's your choice." It just, I mean, just some advice like that really helps.
Once again, I feel attacked as I have several scan tools on the way that I probably don't need at the moment.
Man,
I just,
we have a bunch, but
I just, I just wait till somebody wants me to test one.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean that thing's just as powerful with the cheap one if you know what you're doing than it is with the good one, as long as you're getting accurate data, you know. So, like I have,
You have never used an SPX Autoboss.
uh, no, but I walked into a buddy's shop 3 weeks ago, and if he sees this, he'll laugh. But walked into a buddy's shop 3 weeks ago. Now he was a service advisor turned owner. He always ran service. His father was an advisor who owned the business, and he doesn't know any of the technical aspects. Like he could change oil, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He went and he's like, "We are having such a problem." My lead diag tech, he was actually in a car accident. He said, he goes, "Can you come over and just look at this one?" And it was a intermittent no com issue with a power steering on a Ford Focus, I believe it was. And I walked over to the tech and I do the same things I do with my techs. I said, "Hey, so what are your results so far?" And like he would say something like, "Oh, well, this reading was good." I'm like, "No, what was the reading? You can't tell me it was good. What was the voltage reading here?" And then he goes to grab his meter to do the test again, and he puts it on, he puts the leads on, and he goes, "Oh crap." And he shakes the meter. And he's like, "Nope." And he shakes it again. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Sometimes it doesn't read." I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, I picked it up and threw it in the garbage. I was like, "Who else has a meter here?" And one of the old guys is like, "We were watching this dumbass forever with this meter." And he goes, he just shakes the leads, and like something internal in the meter would every once in a while not make contact or something, and you'd have to shake to get a reading. And I was like, "No, no, no." He goes, "Well, normally if you do it 3 times, if it's not there, we know it's." Oh, good Lord. And again, if you weren't told or you weren't shown, it hurt.
Yeah.
And he paid for that one, I guess. So,
Nice. That's a great one.
yeah. So, like I said, by no means am I'm not the best technician. I used to think I was a decent tech, and then I met some of you guys like Tommy and Andrew Fisher, Eric Walker. I
Hey,
mean, gosh, some of the greats, and even yourself, Sean. And I watch what you guys do, and I'm just like, I wish I was that fast. So,
I'm just a hack, dude. Just wait till you see my Power Pro class.
but in all reality, right? Like what I need and what I'm looking for out of our trainers are guys that are doing it every day and guys that know how to use the tools. I actually like doing some of my training with cheap tools because that's what people could afford. And I mean, I don't want to go
Hmm.
buy the most expensive thing because most of your average techs can't afford that, right? Like a lot of people have told us when we started our scope classes that you need to have a Picoscope, and I'm like, I get it. It's a beautiful product. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But I mean, in the right hands, the MT Pro does just as much.
I'm
So
playing with it right now, actually. Finally. Sorry, Joe. And but no, that's actually been the basis of all of my classes, right? Is how do we safely, productively, and cost effectively are able to program
yes,
um modules. And actually, my little shameless plug here, my next TechFix class is going to be Nissan programming, and it's all programming based on the new R-Link J2534, which is Nissan. It's a Nissan certified device.
so and again, just to add to what you said there, Tommy, a lot of the classes, like in Tommy's case, Andrew Fisher, Eric Walker, I don't just do this. And again, when we said we really want to change the industry, we really mean it. We have a Facebook page, and it's called the TechFix Forum. TechFix is one word, right? It's for anybody to join. And I post a ton of free training on there. So far, all of Tommy's trainings have been on there. Now, if you're not a member, you don't get the recordings and access to that stuff, but you could absolutely watch all the live free trainings, ask Tommy as many questions as you want when he's on there. And we have tons of people come into there. It's just giving them a taste of what the program looks for, what we're doing. And we do everything from ADOS training, Tommy's programming, Andrew Fisher's case studies classes, David Finch is going through diesel. We walk through all of these with them, and I mean, they're all free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. The only thing we do is we plug the forum. We do all our giveaways there. We give free tickets away to our training event and everything else. So again, if we could change the industry, and I know there are still some shops that just can't afford it. So if we can get these techs just to level up a little bit and help out that way too, it's a great thing to do. So
Yep.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
so
Cool. Well, thanks for spending some time with us here, Kevin. It was nice to meet you, and that's
Glad to
yeah, all really cool stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me hang out for a little while, and I really thank you for
No,
the opportunity.
thanks for the feedback and the willingness to speak on Shotfix's behalf and just to dispel some stuff, man. Because at the end of the day, like what's fair is fair, man, and I don't like when when things are being said unfairly. So it's I think it was time to get somebody's voice out there that isn't like on social media or somebody, because a lot of times people get offended and then that just it's a emotional response, and at that point sometimes it could be seen as now you're on the defensive end.
Yeah.
So nice, nice civilized conversation, asking some questions, and we really appreciate your answers, man.
No problem. Thank you. I mean, realistically, like our point on all that is I'm going to let the results for what we do the talking, right? I see year after year we keep growing. We do the same with TechFix, and we don't play the political game like you have to with some of the trainings we've seen around. As soon as that starts, I usually just back away from it. I'm not really interested any longer. So in the event that again, we may not get into a certain event or whatever that comes down to. I just look at it as like there's a reason for it, and I'm just going to let our product do the talking. So, in the end, when the smoke clears eventually, the last one standing will be the last one standing, and I think there's plenty of room for everybody in the arena. I don't think there's a one size fits all. But again, I'm just going to let what we teach and our trainers do the talking. So as we come through this, I think that that's going to be the best way. I'm not going to sit there and debate this and argue with people. But the other thing that really saddens me is I see a lot of bad advice going out there. You know what I mean? Like you tell somebody who's
Right.
running a shop that is really struggling just to fire a customer or raise their rates, or don't take diag or take on more diag, and they're not capable, you're really going to cripple that person and probably break that family. So just seen too many families sink, and that's what we're trying to end. So
That's beautifully said, man.
thanks, dude.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode. Another big thank you to Kevin for joining us. Really appreciate it. Definitely cool to learn about all that stuff. Keep in mind, all the links are in the show notes to if you want to check out any of the stuff with TechFix, if any of that sounded interesting to you. But other than that, let's all get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.